Hi everybody, David here. I've been asked to give you an overview of the unit CMI 301 in terms of preparing you to be able to actually complete the assignment connected with this particular qualification. This is quite a straightforward assignment to write. And if you look at it in the most general terms, it's really about looking at your knowledge, your understanding of the leadership and management materials that you've studied on your course, to be able to articulate that into a very structured document for submission for assessment. At the end of the day, I think keep it in perspective. Don't over-egg it. Just keep focused on the question, and particularly the action verbs that are outlined in the question. The assessor will be looking specifically at the action verb. So, for example, if it says assess, make sure you've assessed. If it's like discuss, make sure you discuss. If it's provide an overview, provide an overview. There is a list of definitions in terms of those action verbs that you can download from the CMI website. And of course, have a look at those. And also, don't forget, you've got access to the CMI website and all the online materials through your membership. So feel free to read around the subject before you actually put pen to paper or finger to the key, as it were, when you actually write it. This particular assignment focuses on primarily management, but a little bit of leadership as well, in terms of the practical side of leadership and management in a supervisory position. You know, it talks very much about looking at culture within an organization, things like the strategy, the importance of vision, mission, values within an organization, and the purpose of strategy in terms of a plan to make things work. It also focuses very much on communications and the things that work in terms of effective communication in a leadership and management role, and also the types of approaches you would take as a leader and manager to individuals, to teams, and even to customers, service receivers. You know, is there a difference in terms of style? And certainly I know that on the course you will have been encouraged to think about different styles of approaches to leadership and management. So I'm going to go through each section, not in complete detail because I don't think there's any need, but just to give you that overview is important. I think the other thing, whilst looking on the internet is really, really good, and looking at the CMI website is really good, the one thing I would urge you to avoid is any form of artificial intelligence. I just know that that's not helpful. It doesn't always give you the right answer. I know in terms of referencing, it can be known to lie. And the other thing is that it's not secure. So I just would tend to avoid artificial intelligence. And don't forget, you are signing a learner authenticity statement to say this is your own work. So my advice, just stay well clear of AI, and you don't need it anyway, because you've done the course, you've got the slides, you've got the materials, you've done the thinking, you've done the hard work. So this is just about evidencing the same. So I did mention the statement of authenticity. You all have been sent that document. Please fill it in, send it off. That'll be part of your registration process. And I did mention also the fact that you will need to reference any materials. So any academic work, any theories, any research that you might be using to illustrate a point, please remember to evidence it and reference it. The referencing protocol I would always use or recommend would be the Harvard referencing protocol. And actually, if you're using Microsoft Word, you can it helps you actually format all of that and gives you different styles and options to produce your referencing. The other thing is, don't try and do this all in one go, okay? Just break it down into small chunks, bite-sized pieces. It's a far better way of doing it. And the other thing is, make sure you save the document as well as you move forward, because this isn't about getting stressed and trying to do it all in one go. It's going to stress you out. And I don't know about you, I can't think in a focused way for more than 45 minutes at a time anyway. So half an hour, 45 minutes, take one of the sections and answer it. That would be my advice. You can, with this document, don't put appendices on it, okay? If there is sort of more evidence that you want to put into the content, you can use what they refer to as an assignment booklet, and that shouldn't exceed more than 6 pages. But for example, if you are using work-based evidence to illustrate any of your answers, that's where you should put it into this no more than 6-page assignment booklet. And again, you can then refer to any materials in there, any evidence you might have as you go through your assignment. So if you actually look at the requirement of the assessment booklet that you've been given, it's very much structured in a way that's very, very helpful. If you come to actually, when you finish your work, if you look at the total word count, you should be around about 2,000 to 2,500 words. There is a tolerance of plus or minus 10%. I don't think you will get under that, but the chances are you will write more than is required. And it's always nice to go back to your assignment and just focus it a little bit more, prune it down. Try and be concise in your writing. You won't get any negative marks for overstepping the mark, but to be honest with you, the word count is there for a reason, and certainly the assessors do not like pages and pages of material that doesn't really impact on the question. And if you answer the question in a concise way, you will completely hit that word count, and it's an indicator as to whether or not you're on track. Certainly, if you look at the specifics in the questions, I'm not going to obviously answer them for you, but they are quite straightforward. So, for example, 1.1, outline the governance of different types of organization. If you want to look at the indicative content, there is the documentation for that has been provided for you. So please feel free to look at that indicative content. It will remind you of what was said on the course, but also it will give you additional materials that you might want to research yourself and integrate into your assignment. But for example, on this, it's giving you it's asking for 3 different types of organization. And there's a table. So what's your organizational type? But then the explanation is about how that works in operation, the pros, the cons of that kind of an organization. So for example, you might compare, for example, a private limited company with maybe a public sector organization, and the issues that you would have. Perhaps a private limited company might have more flexibility than a public public organization like the health service. It's looking to see if you can make a value judgment against the kind of organization, the structure, and how they operate, the pros and the cons. And even in the private sector, hierarchies, flatter structures, that kind of how things work. It's looking to see if you've got a good understanding of how different organizations work. Think of it like you were a consultant and you were going into different organizations and what you would expect to see. And again, one of the areas that it does focus on is culture, which is really, really important. Obviously, these are the unwritten rules, the way things happen around here. And as Peter Drucker would say, culture will eat strategy for breakfast. Culture is incredibly powerful in an organization and can't be ignored when you're looking at this from a leadership and management perspective. So what are the factors which influence organizational cultures, and how would you go about changing an organizational culture? Maybe you'd want to do a cultural audit to actually assess, and the problem is doing that yourself. Sometimes you could be part of the culture and you don't actually see it. So having a degree of independence in assessments is really good. But again, look at the indicative content of that section. And I think this is a really powerful part of the particular program in general, looking at culture and strategy. Again, talking about strategy, there's a question which actually asks you to explain the purpose of an organizational mission, vision, and values. Values is pretty the new kid on the block around here, but certainly very important. You might want to look at some of the academics around values and value statements. And of course, vision and mission, really important. Mission about the way we do business and how we achieve our vision, which is that future focus outcome. Again, it's asking you to explain the purpose. Remember the action verb here, explain the purpose. So don't burn your words on anything else except explaining the purpose, because that's where the assessor will be allocating the marks. There's another question about the purpose of organizational strategies in terms of the plan, the overall plan, giving people direction of travel, clarity of roles and responsibilities. And again, the importance of having a plan that people can, where you've got accountability structures. Maybe you want to explore some of that. And I'm just giving you some ideas here. I mean, you'll have your own ideas in terms of the content that you want to write about. There's some really straightforward parts of this assignment, and sometimes you might want to actually do different parts at different stages, but maybe do something, that's, what do they call it? The low-hanging fruit. I think one of the low-hanging fruits is summarize the role of a manager. Explain the role of a manager in communicating the organizational strategy to individuals and to teams. Are you with me? You've got to really look at these questions and break it down to the action verbs. And sometimes there's two aspects like that. The role of them, explain, action verb, the role of the manager in communicating. Think about the communication aspects of your course. Organizational strategy to individuals and to teams. Again, look at the indicative content for this particular section in the materials you've got, and you'll really get a good focus to your assignment. Explain the levels of accountability and authority in the management role. Explain levels of accountability, action verb. So explain the levels of accountability and authority. You might want to split those two in your answer, because it's asking you two specific things there, isn't it? Accountability and authority. And this is the approach. You might think, well, this is more about the style, and it is. It's about the style of answering it. You shouldn't have a problem, I promise you. If you look at 2.4, outline, action verb, the legal and organizational frameworks. Remember, two specifics there, which apply to the management role. And again, the booklet allows you, it encourages you to look at that from three dynamics. There's a chart with three gaps. Okay, so again, structure and follow the action verbs throughout. Another one, I love this particular question. It features on lots of the assignments. Explain the difference between management and leadership. Explain the difference, action verbs. Just don't tell us about management and leadership. You might want to define what you're talking about, but it's your answers. The marks will go on the answer you give, where around the explanation, not the definitions. I think it's sometimes difficult to do an explanation without providing a definition, and maybe you want to do that, and there's plenty of them to go at. But again, look at the indicative content in the materials that you are given. 3.2, summarize recognized management and leadership approaches. So again, this is recognize. For me, that means a well-known theorist or theory or a number of theories. They're asking here for basically three management and leadership approaches. Look, you've studied a lot of that on your course, and you can read around that a little bit more as well if you choose to. All these assignments work on the assumption you are going to look at other material and you're going to do a bit of a deeper dive in some of the subjects. This might be an area that you would wish to do that. Summary of the management and leadership approach. and then explain how the approach can be applied and adapted to a work-based situation. Again, you know your work-based situation better than anybody. Be very clear. But again, in the supporting booklet, you might want to put some of that contextual information to stop having to burn your words up where the work is going to be assessed. Again, a very straightforward question at 4.1. Explain the knowledge and skills required to be an effective manager. Remember, explain, but they're splitting this up into two, aren't they? Knowledge, stroke, skill. And again, on this one, you're invited to actually fill in 6 areas. But again, keep it concise, keep it brief, keep it focused on the question, and keep going back and reminding yourself of what the question is asking. At 4.2, summarize the behaviors required to be an effective manager. And the behaviors taking responsibility, inclusivity, agility, and professionalism have been provided in the booklet. But what it's looking for is a summary of that in your context, in your organizational context, in your judgment call. And to be honest with you, there's no right and wrong answer of that, as long as you have a well-formed argument and you can articulate that clearly in this document. Explain the impact of knowledge, skills, and behaviors. 3 things there: knowledge, skill, and behaviors. Remember, the question has action verbs. Explain for those 3 things. On teams, colleagues, and customers, that can be actually, there's a lot of permutations there. The table helps. It breaks it down into teams, colleagues, and customers. Don't think that those boxes are for, these will expand, okay? So don't be too brief in your explanation of the impact, because the deeper you go, the more marks you're going to accrue, and that's what it's all about. Now, it is inviting you to actually put the sources. So if you are referencing academic work, please reference that with Harvard. If you are using books, just in a general sense, you could put a bibliography in there. If you're using a website, put the URL there. Be as specific as you can, because the assessor might want to go and look at the source of what you're talking about, and it by referencing accurately, you come good on the plagiarism check. That is your work will put through. The other thing is that I find that sometimes when you're doing research online, sometimes you forget where you've got the source from on an online document or a piece of academic work. I upload a piece of software called Evernote on my laptop. It's got a little elephant's head and an icon, and when I'm on a website where I want to maybe come back and reference that document or reference that piece of work, all I do when I'm on that document, I just hit that note, and Evernote remembers where I was when I hit that icon, and so I can actually put a list of URLs where I've actually done some research. It shows that you've done some there's been some depth and breadth in terms of your investigation and inquiry around answering the question. Please don't stress about this. There are plenty of people, including myself, if you want, or others that you'll be notified of that can help you with these assessments. If you don't get through, you will get a referral. If you get a referral from an assessor, don't sit on it. Respond to what has been said in terms of the referral. Return your work as quickly and as efficiently as you can. If you've got any additional material, put that in a different coloured font to help the assessor understand where you've added, and that always helps. Make their work easy, help them to help you. That's the main thing. And other than that, if any problems at all, talk to somebody, talk to us. We're here to help and support you on this. Don't let it get you down. Don't be stressed about it in any way, shape or form. In fact, look at it like this. It's a nice, exciting piece of reflective practice. And I wish you the best of luck with all of it. Good luck with 301 and any of the other assignments that you might be doing. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye for now.